Alright, so I have mine ironed out. I find that the steam works best to try and get those creases, those fold lines. I failed to mention, I used black chipboard on this. On the little boys one that I started, I used white. Whatever you have on hand is fine because you're not going to see it once we finish with everything. So we're going to put our pattern side facing us on top of the foam, and we're going to flip the whole thing over. And this is going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to do the best I can with getting this all on the camera. So let me pan in. We're going to start. And I know it's going to be hard to see too because I got white fabric and then I have a white background. Let me grab a piece of cardstock. That would probably help. I'm just going to grab some black cardstock. Put it under there. There. That's much better. Okay. So I'm making sure I have at least a ½ inch here on the bottom. And then look at your top. Make sure you have at least a ½ inch to work with. And then also on the both arms, we need a ½ inch here and then a ½ inch at the top here. So we're going to start on the bottom. And what I'm going to do is take my scissors and I'm going to cut straight to this corner. Come in a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to cut straight to this corner, but not cutting underneath it with the fabric. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, then we're going to take our glue. I am using Fabri-Tac. And we're just going to put some glue down there, and then we're just going to pull this up. I'm going to get my bone folder because I always get glue everywhere. Okay, I'm going to hold that for a second just to try and let it grab. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to start pulling up this side, but I do not need this much fabric on here. So I'm going to cut to about a ½ inch or so. Just going around following that curve. Alright, so I'm going to take this little portion and pull it up. And I found with this fabric, if you pull these little ends too much, it will start to fray and come undone. So what I'm going to do is, since we have a curve here, before I actually pull that up, I'm just going to put a few little cuts up to the chipboard, not going underneath, just like a 1/16 of an inch. And then on this corner here, we're going to cut straight into it. Then I'm going to take my glue and put it around. We'll put some glue in that little corner of that fabric so it doesn't come unraveled, hopefully. So I'm going to take this section and pull it over like this. Then I'm going to take my bone folder and hold that down, and then just keep pulling these pieces over. have a little bunch here. You could cut it out. I'm just going to try and put some glue in here and smush it down. And where this little bend is in the fabric, since I'm having trouble with fraying, I'm just going to make sure that I get some glue on there so it doesn't continue to come unraveled. Okay, now for this side here, I'm going to trim down some of the fabric to about 1/2 of an inch. I'm going to stop before I get to the crease of the arm till about right there. So I'm this far from the crease. Okay, so back to our bottom part. We're just going to take our corner and start bunching it around. Put some glue. And then glue. I'm going to go about, sorry, went the wrong way. I'm going to go about halfway up. And start pulling this over. Alright, now here I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Alright, this is the best way that I've learned how to do this. I can't find a tutorial online to help. Okay, I'm going to cut all the way through till about 1/4 of an inch down from this crease in the arm. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and glue that part back. Got me a little crease right here. Try and fix it. There we go. Alright, I'm going to make like a little triangle in the fabric. I'm going to cut just barely, like 2/16 of an inch to that corner. And then the same thing on this opposite side, and with your fabric you end up with a little triangle piece. Can you see that little triangle? There we go. Now we're going to pull that through, and this part, if you're using the same fabric, my other one, it did frail. So I'm going to put some glue on the little fabric piece itself. And then at the same time, I'm going to try and pull all this up together. I hate this part. If y'all know of a better way to do this, please message me and let me know. Yeah, that dang fabric, it completely came apart. Just work it as best as you can. I'm going to try it from the front. Use my bone folder and flip it in. Alright, I believe I have it. I have a little crease right here in my fabric, but whenever we go to stitch it, we can pull that down flat so it won't be as noticeable. So I'm going to take this piece here and cut straight to that corner of the arm. This one's a little long. Trim it down a little bit. Then I'm going to put glue everywhere so all of this does not fray. Glue all over the place. Alright, we're going to trim this one down a little bit. As you're pulling this, make sure you don't pull the other side of your fabric too far. Done that before. Alright. We're going to start pulling the parts by our arm across. Get too much fabric right here, I'm going to cut it. Okay. I'm going to take and cut into towards this corner and then pull that fabric over, and I've got everything sticking in my fingers. I always tell myself to get a wet rag, and I always forget. So we're just going to pull this over. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to show y'all how nasty my corner looks. I can't get in the frame. Okay, wait for it to focus maybe. Let's see. Okay, I just wanted to show you this fabric is really, really close to the edge, and that is not going to focus for me. It's trying. So what I'm going to do is some of these little pieces that I've been cutting off, I'm just going to take it and glue it, because when we put, okay, so like this is our cardstock. As long as you can put your cardstock, I can't, I'm sorry, I know that's not focusing. Alright, as long as you can put cardstock to where it's going to cover that, to where you don't see, in my case, my black, which I actually think I got it close enough. I think right here it's probably going to show, so I'm just going to take a little bitty piece of fabric and I'm going to put some glue here. and put this one down, because it's really, that fabric's really close to the edge, and I don't want that edge to show when we go to finish this up. So I'm just kind of shaping it with the glue and the fabric in my bone folder. There, does that make sense? I hope all that makes sense. You're probably saying, man, I wish this chick would never do a tutorial again. Alright, I'm going to cover this up too, just to be on the safe side. We're going to put a little bit on this edge. Alright, see, you cannot see it at all whenever you flip it over. And when we pull this tight, this little gap will go away. When we do our stitching, you cannot see it from the edge. But I just want to make sure that when I put some cardstock on the back, I don't want to see any of that black peeking through. Okay. Let's go around to our top section here. And I'm going to trim this up a little bit. Just pulling my fabric on the opposite side to make sure I have enough. Alright, we're going to put some, let's trim this up a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to get this corner. Try and get it as pretty as you can. Just hold that to dry for a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over so I can work from the opposite direction. Alright. I am going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut into the corner. And we're going to put some glue down. Pull that over. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little V in this corner. So I'm going to come at it in this direction, but not going all the way to the chipboard. So that way we can pull it over and cover up this corner here, hopefully. So I'm going to put some glue in that corner to keep it from fraying. And now this back side looks like a disaster with all this glue, but nobody is ever going to see it. So just do the best you can. Okay, since we have a curve here, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to cut straight to this corner and get some of this excess off the top. Alright, then we just want to make a few little cuts so all this will fold over. And start taking and pulling that. Pull it fairly snug, but don't rip your fabric. And start pulling those over. Cut this down a little bit. And I'm making sure that I have glue here in this little corner so it doesn't keep fraying. Matter of fact, let me cut these down just a little bit more. So we're going to pull through our next one. Pull snugly. You can keep flipping it over and checking the front. Yeah, it's getting there. And see, I did the same thing on my little boy one. So I'm going to have to really pull it tight to get that. I'm going to go ahead, since I don't have much fabric on this end, I'm not going to cut it. But if you have a lot of extra fabric like we did on the back side, cut into it to help fold over. I'm just going to go across the top and make this little piece a little shorter. We're going to pull this one over. And start pulling this side over with my hands. Alright, for this side, I'm going to turn it sideways because mine is so short and I really need to pull this fabric tight to get over this edge. See if I'm going to make it. I'm going to put some glue down and we're going to hope for the best. I'm going to go ahead and take mine and I'm going to cut it closer here. And I really did get that short, didn't I? Sorry, I'm going to have to pick mine up and work with it to getting it over. I think I got it. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of a break and go wash my hands, and then I'll get a wet rag so it won't get so bad. I'll be right back. Alright. Now, we're back for our lovely corner again. So well, I guess I didn't get my hands as clean as I thought. So let's go ahead and cut in through till about 1/4 of an inch before you get to the actual inseam. And then go in, try to make our little triangle again. I'm going to cut this a little bit, and I may have made mine too short. Let's see what I can do with it. Let's finish cutting. My side here, I've got too much fabric, so I'm going to cut down. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing here and try and make that little triangle bit. And then we're going to put glue everywhere and hope for the best. Alright, take our little corner piece. I got mine really tight, so I'm going to pull this fabric up from the bottom and across. Hold that in for a while. And get my little triangle and pull it up. I got really close right there. I'm going to flip it over to its side and try and get that glue. Try to just push it back. There we go. Put some glue down this side and start that edge. And pull it fairly snug. Again, if somebody has a better way of doing that, please send me a message. Alright, so I have two pieces right here that are really close to the edge that I want to cover up. So I'm going to get some of my little spare pieces. I'm going to start putting one there. I promise it'll get fun and easier than this. This is always the hardest part for me. And that's why it took me so long to make another one. Long enough to where I can forget how much of a pain in the tootie it was. But I love it! The reward outweighs by far. There we go. One more little piece for this section right here. I just want to take, oh, I'm sorry, take my bone folder, just shape that down and cover up that crease. Now you never could see it from the beginning, from the front, but what I'm trying to do again is when we put our cardstock, we don't want any of that chipboard to be showing. Okay, back down around the side. I'm going to take my scissors and cut into this corner. Then I'm going to make this a little bit shorter and easier to manage. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue down through here. Fold that over and pull it pretty snug because we want the front of our album to be nice and taut. Just hold that down for a second. Then we're going to do the same thing here, make some more cuts so we can do that curve. And start putting glue down and pulling those up. Probably could have cut some of this excess off. Just hold that down, let the glue catch. No, come on, scooter boot. That's what my animals, I call them that sometimes. I'm trying to get them to move. That's where my term scooter boot come from. I think down here will be good on our edges, but if yours gets too close, just take a little scrap piece and just put in these little corners. And our last piece. Trim that off a little bit. Get our glue. And pull that over. Yeehaw, we're done. Just hold that till that glue sets. And when we flip it over, without all the glue, we have so cute. And there is our beautiful little onesie. So next step, I am going to try and get my camera on my sewing machine, and we will do that part together. Alright, so Alright, we're going to try. This is about the best I could do to try and get the stand onto my sewing machine. Now what I want to do is we're going to put a stitch about 1/4 of an inch around the whole pattern, but when we get to these corners where we have all this fabric that is bunched up, I usually have to do that by hand by just taking the little roller on the end and doing it piece by piece. Or if I get in a part like the corner where it's a little tricky, I also do that part by hand. So we're going to try to do this the best that we can, and I am going to go ahead and start from the bottom. Now I'm going to push down the fabric as I stitch it so we don't have any bunch ups, and we can take care of any creases that we have anywhere. So I'm going to put it here, and I'm just going to keep the end, or the needle, and 1/4 of an inch from the end, and we're just going to start. I'm going to start in the center. Okay. I usually always like to start with the needle down, and let's see how this goes. I'm just going slowly. Alright, so it's already having trouble. So I've got this on my desk, which is higher than I normally have it, so it may just be my foot pedals halfway hanging off the floor. I think once we get past this corner where it's bunched up, I think that's about right. So while my needle's down, I'm turning it. Yes. Let me see if I can get going with the foot pedal again. First, let me get it past this corner. I'm just going to go really slow, trying to get used to this foot pedal being so far from the ground, and I just got too close to the edge. It's making me nervous. So we have all our stitches done, and then we're left with these little stragglers. And I want to try, you have to do something with these. You cannot cut them out or else they'll just keep coming undone. And the way that I've learned how to do it is take a little needle, and I am going to pan in the best that I can, and we'll try and get through this. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to turn it over. And each time you make a stitch, you have a stitch and then you have a loop over the top of it. What we want to do is get in underneath that loop and pull the fabric from the front to the back. So take one of your little back pieces and just give it a slight little tug, and where you see that tug, that loop will start coming loose. So let me see. I don't know if it's going to really pick it up. But when I pulled that, I got this little loop here. And then it just pulls it from the front. And we have two of them, so I'm going to pull on my next one. Just give it a slight little tug and try and see where that loop is. And pull that. So now we have all of our thread is facing to the back. So I'm going to cut these a little bit short. Don't cut them too short because we're going to take them and we're just going to tie a knot. And then that way they will not unravel on us. And I'm surprised that it was actually that easy. Sometimes it takes me a good while to find that little loop. So we're just going to leave that hanging from right now. And let me go ahead and pan out. So the idea, as you've seen, is this is the front of your photo frame. So we need a square to slide the picture in, but I want to make a tutu at the bottom, and it's going to be similar to this one on my previous album, which I'll put a link below. This is a full album where we have the front and the back, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm probably going to bring a little bit lower so we have more room at the top for the square to where someone can just slide a photo in it. So next thing we're going to do is work on making that photo frame. So I'm going to grab some chipboard. Alright, so I'm trying to decide if I want my little frame to pop out or blend in. And I actually think I want it to blend in. So I'm going to use this fabric. Oh, look at there. I got one little piece. So let's cut it out. Alrighty. Trying to decide if I want to put some foam, which that's going to be hard to do. but I think I do want to get it kind of fluffed out. So let me grab that. Okay, so I grabbed some little cut pieces that I had. And I'm just going to take some glue, whatever glue you want to use, and try and stick this down. And I'm just going to take some little strips, kind of piece it together. At least this will be a lot easier to glue down the fabric. It'll give it a little bit of dimension. Alright, let's flip it over. Hold on. Let me stuff a little bit right here. Okay. Yay, it's time to glue again. So I'm going to move it as close to this edge as I can. I'm going to turn it sideways. We're just going to pull this over. Trying to see what I did with my bone folder. I'm always losing it. Ah, here we go. And I also lost my wet, oh, here it is. Okay, we got that side down. So we're going to move around here and we're going to trim off this little edge like so. And I'm going to trim this down. Sorry. When I talk a lot, I get hoarse and I also get a little itch in my throat for some reason. Ugh, my glue is spewing. Okay, wrap that corner as best as you can. our next corner. Now this side we want to put, I'm going to trim it a little bit. We won't want to pull it really tight. Oh, some lip glue in my corner. Oh, too many crickets. Let me hold this corner down for a little bit. Alright, now tug it as tight as you can. I do like the way that looks. Got a little knobby there on my corner. Well, I guess it's determined to be there. Alright, this side, same thing. I'll go ahead and do both ends. Trim this down just a little. Yikes. Alright. Now we get to do it again on the inside. So take your scissors. Wow. Glue. And we just want to make a little cut in the center. Then go over to the sides, leaving a little extra that you can fold over and just cut all the way around. I'm going to cut in towards the corners. And we'll start pulling that around and gluing it down also. Making sure you pull pretty snugly, but not enough that you bend your frame or curve your frame. Am I moving? Keep that corner from tearing. It's cute. My little mice, pink mice is showing through. Alright. One more side, yay. A little fuzz we put in there, the batting keeps poking out. And there we have it. I think that will look better. It'll blend in. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to go and get my fingers cleaned up again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my sewing machine, and I'm going to go around the outer edge, all four corners, and then again on this inner edge about 1/4 of an inch. And then I will be right back. Alright, so I have mine stitched in. I don't know if it's going to show up. There we go. So I have it all around the corners, and I've got my little strings. So again, I'm going to grab my pin and try to find those ends. So on my back side, I'm going to find it and give it a little tug. I'm not even in camera. Give it a little tug and try and find that loop. And for some reason, there we go. So I found my little loop, and as you can see, I'm pulling it from the front to the back. So I'm going to move to my next one, and I'm just going to give it a little tug for that loop to come up. Put my pin inside of it. There we are. So I have a hole to it. Oh, come on. There we go. And pull it forward. I get confused by the camera. So we're going to take these and tie them together into a knot. I'm just going to cut off some of this excess. Alright, now my other start and finish, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to tug on that one a little bit till I see that loop come up. Well, this one's going to be a pain in the tush. There, I think I got it. Oh, come on. There we go. Now, one more. Sometimes when you get those start and stops so close together, it is hard to get it going. Come on, you little loop. I knew those first times were way too easy. Okay, let me get this instead of boring y'all to death. 1 second. That should be the finish of a lot of our sewing. Let me go ahead and get my black background again. Hopefully I could see things better. Alright. So figure out how you want your frame. I don't know which fabric you used. And we want to keep it, I'd say about 1/2 inch from that stitch, which would be about 1 inch from the very top. I'm not going to put them down yet. I just want to get an idea of where we want our little tutu to start. Alright, so I have